If you're waiting for passion to strike like lightning, you might be waiting forever. Most people have it backwards. Passion isn't found. It's built through specific actions and experiments. I spent years feeling stuck until I found the 3-step framework that changed everything. So by the end of this video, you understand how to cultivate passion rather than search for it. And I'll share how one of my school community members went from completely lost to launching her dream business in 90 days. So stick with me through this video and I'll show you how to build passion step by step, even if you feel like you have no direction right now. A lot of people keep waiting for that moment when their passion becomes suddenly clear. But what if that clarity never comes? Most people grew up thinking they need to search for their one true calling, as if it's a hidden treasure waiting to be found. This setup, of course, feels exciting at first. The idea that somewhere out there is the perfect fit for us. But this search mindset actually works against you. Study has shown that constantly looking for your passion tends to increase anxiety and decrease overall life satisfaction. When you're always searching, nothing ever feels quite right. You try something new, but if it doesn't deliver immediate satisfaction, you move on to the next. And this creates a cycle where you're never fully committed to any path. You might take a course, start a hobby, or explore a career path, but the moment it becomes challenging or doesn't feel instantly fulfilling, you question whether it's truly your passion. Psychologists call this the passion paradox. The harder you search for passion, the less likely you are to find it. The constant questioning and doubt prevents you from developing deep engagement with anything. I spent years stuck in this exact circle, jumping from one job to the other, always feeling like something was missing. Each new interest will excite me for a week, maybe months, then the enthusiasm will fade when I hit the first difficult phase. And the turning point came when I noticed how successful people actually talk about their passions. They don't describe magical moments of discovery. They talk about building interest through consistent action, and this changed everything. Passion isn't something you find through searching. It's constructed through deliberate practice. And when you shift from searching to building, you stop waiting for external validation and you start creating your own fulfillment. And this perspective change transforms how you approach your career and personal growth. You become the architect of your passion rather than a treasure hunter hoping to stumble upon it. While most people are searching for passion, high achievers take a different, completely approach. They are not looking for something that already exists. They are actively building it through a deliberate process. And I've studied the pattern across hundreds of successful individuals in different fields, from entrepreneurs to artists to scientists. The pattern that emerges is consistent and clear. These people don't talk about finding their passion. What they do instead, they describe how they develop their interest over time into something meaningful. And their critical difference lies in their understanding of how passion actually works. They understand that passion follows competence. It doesn't precede it. The amazing thing is, most people wait to feel passionate about something before they commit to developing a skill. Successful people do the opposite. They start with simple curiosity and commit to learning, knowing that the passion will grow as their ability improves. They usually approach new interests with a sense of exploration rather than demanding instant fulfillment. I met a college dropout. He didn't suddenly discover his passion for entrepreneurship. He built it through systemic experimentation. He launched 3 different business ideas in the first year after dropping out of college. The first was a local delivery service that didn't gain traction, and the second was a social media consulting service that had a few clients but didn't scale. And the third was an online education platform that finally resonated with his skills and market needs. And each attempt taught him something that is valuable about business operations, customer needs, and his own capabilities. So the process of trying, learning, and adapting mirrors what researchers call the theory of interest development. It's a framework that shows how initial curiosity can develop into well-developed interest through sustained engagement and growing competence. So, The key insight is that interest isn't fixed. It evolves as you gain knowledge and skills in an area. And this explains why people often become passionate about their work after they've mastered it, rather than before they start. Successful people understand that waiting for inspiration is the wrong strategy. They take action first, trusting that passion will follow their investment of time and effort. They treat potential passions like seeds that needs watering and sunlight rather than finished products waiting to be discovered. This mindset shift from searching to building changes everything about how you approach your career and personal development. It turns passive waiting into active creation and uncertainty into opportunity for growth. So the most common career advice might be setting you up for failure, and here is why. Follow your passion sounds inspiring in theory, but research shows this approach is fundamentally flawed. And studies reveal that people who believe that passion is something fixed and waiting to be discovered show less resilience when challenge arises, when things become difficult for them. So they are more likely to quit when things get difficult because they interpret struggle as a sign they've chosen wrong or they are on the wrong path. So if an activity requires real effort, they assume it must not be their true calling. And this creates what researchers call the false growth paradox in passion development. People want to grow and develop, but their belief in fixed passion leads them to abandon activities precisely when growth is possible. The data clearly shows more passions develop sustained engagement over time, not through sudden discovery. Even individuals who feel they found their passion almost always develops it through years of work and refinement. You see a musician who since born to play actually spent thousands of hours practicing, and an entrepreneur seemed destined for business likely failed multiple times before finding success. So the scientific truth is that passion grows through investment and not discovery. And when you understand this, it changes everything about how you approach your work and interests. So instead of asking, is this my passion? You start asking, can I develop skill and find meaning here? And this shift removes the pressure to find one perfect path and replaces it with the freedom to build multiple potential paths. You see the difference? So you stop evaluating activities based on immediate emotional payoff and start assessing them based on learning potential and contribution value. Research indicates that people who view passion as developable rather than discoverable show higher persistence and greater satisfaction in their work. They understand that initial interest is just the starting point, not the final destination. So this mindset allows them to push through the inevitable difficult phase when learning new skills or building new projects. They understand that the feeling of passion also comes after competence, not before it. And understanding this scientific perspective transforms how you make career decisions and approach your personal growth. You become more willing to try new things without demanding instant fulfillment. And you develop patience for the learning process and recognize that early struggles are normal and not signs of failure. So this evidence-based approach to developing passion creates a more sustainable path to meaningful work and prevent the constant searching that leaves so many people feeling stuck and unsatisfied. After years of research and personal trial and error, I developed a framework that actually works for building passion systematically. The passion pyramid consists of 3 distinct levels that build upon each other in sequence. And most people make the mistake of trying to start at the top level, seeking immediate fulfillment and deep purpose right from the beginning. They want that lightning strike of passion before they've done any real work or exploration. And this approach creates constant disappointment because they are essentially trying to harvest fruit from a tree that haven't been planted or watered. So level 1 is foundationally about exploration and curiosity without any pressure to commit. So this is the first phase, your exploration phase. your finding phase. And this stage involves trying different activities, learning basic concepts, and simply noticing what captures your attention. Okay. And at this stage, there is no expectation of mastery or long-term dedication. You're just sampling various possibilities, like browsing books in the library rather than trying to write one immediately. So this stage two focuses on developing competence and building skills in those selected areas. This is where you build skill that will make you good enough, that will provide you the competence you need. So you move from casual curiosity to deliberate practicing, putting in consistent efforts to develop your abilities. So this stage two is where people get stuck because they expect passion to arrive before they've developed any real skill. But competence creates confidence, and confidence fuels continued engagement. You're building the foundation that will eventually support genuine passion. Level 3 emerges naturally from the previous stages. And this is where purpose and contribution transform developed skills into lasting passion. When you can use your competence to create values for others, your work takes on deeper meaning. This level isn't something you force. It develops organically from the investment you've made in levels 1 and 2. The framework flips the traditional approach completely. So instead of seeking passion first and hoping it leads to competence, you build competence first and let passion follow naturally. So the passion pyramid provides a clear roadmap for developing genuine excitement about your work. It takes the pressure off finding your one true calling and replaces it with a practical process for building it step by step. So you stop waiting for external validation and start creating your own momentum through systemic progression. This approach makes developing passion accessible to everyone, regardless of their current situation or past experiences with feeling stuck or directionless. You need to identify where to start building it. And the foundation of building passion starts from you understanding your natural inclinations and curiosities. Most people overlook their strengths because they come too easily. Your abilities often feel obvious or simple. Your natural ability often feels obvious or simple, so you discount them as potential passion sources. Things that feels effortless to you might be difficult for others, but because you do them without strain, without any difficulty, you assume they are not special or valuable. The truth is that your natural strengths and easy competencies are exactly where you should begin. These are the activities where you have some natural advantage or interest. Even if it feels small right now, the things you find curiously interesting, even the smallest, become your starting point. And pay attention to what activities make you lose track of time or feel naturally engaging. Notice when you find yourself reading about a topic without any external pressure, or when you enjoy helping others with a particular type of problems. These micro interests are the raw materials for building passion. They might seem too small at first, but they represent areas where you have some natural curiosity and aptitude. I know a graphic designer who now runs a successful studio, who started by noticing that she enjoyed arranging pictures for friends. And then there was a software developer who began by simply playing around with simple website templates, and a chef that discovered her interests through experimenting with family recipes. So I want to share a simple exercise to help you identify this starting point. Take 15 minutes to list every activity where you've noticed any of these signs. Time passes quickly when you're doing it. People sometimes ask for your help with it. You find yourself watching content or reading about it voluntarily, or you feel a sense of flow when engaged in it. Don't judge whether these activities will become careers or serious passions. Just notice where they exist in your life right now. Your natural strength and curiosities provide the initial material to work with in the passion building process. They give you places to start experimenting, to start playing around with, without the pressure of finding your one true calling immediately. And these starting points are like seeds that need watering and sunlight. So they have potential, but they require development to grow into something substantial. So by beginning with what already feels somewhat interesting or natural, you build momentum and confidence. Most people approach passion from a self-centered perspective, asking what will make them happy or fulfilled. So asking what will make you feel happy or fulfilled seems logical at first, but research shows this approach actually leads to less satisfaction over time. When you focus only on the personal fulfillment, you miss the transformative power of building that passion. And studies indicate that when you feel valuable to others, it creates deeper and more lasting satisfaction than pursuing happiness directly. People who contribute to something larger than themselves report stronger sense of meaning and purpose in their work. And the college dropout I mentioned earlier didn't build their successful business by asking what will make me happy. They built it by focusing on solving real problems for other people. And their first attempt failed because they were based on what they thought would be exciting or profitable. So the breakthrough came when they started listening to what people actually needed and built solutions for those specific needs. And their business succeeded because it provided genuine value. And that value creation generated the lasting passion they've been searching for. So the satisfaction of helping others create momentum that personal fulfillment alone never could. And this aligns with psychological research on meaning and purpose. Studies show that people find deepest satisfaction when their work contributes to something that is bigger than them. So the feedback loop of helping others creates a sense of importance that purely self-focused pursuits often lack. So when you know your work matters to someone else, you're more likely to persist through challenges and develop deeper management and develop deeper engagement. This external validation complements internal motivation, creates a more robust foundation for building passion. So starting with contribution rather than personal fulfillment accelerates passion building significantly. So instead of asking whether an activity will make you happy, ask whether it can help someone else. And this shift in perspective change how you approach potential passions. You become more focused on developing useful skills, less concerned with immediate emotional rewards. So the process becomes about building something valuable rather than extracting personal satisfaction. Feeling valuable to others creates a powerful feedback loop that fuels genuine passion. When you see your work making a difference, even in the smallest way, it generates the motivation to continue improving and expanding your impact. And this positive reinforcement makes the building process more sustainable and rewarding because you're not just building passion for yourself, you're building something that matters to others. And that dual purpose creates stronger commitment and deeper satisfaction over time. So you might be thinking, how do you actually build passion without committing to years of effort? The biggest barrier to building passion isn't lack of interest, but the fear of long commitment. Usually people avoid starting because they are terrified of choosing wrong and wasting months or years on something that might not work out. So this fear creates paralysis where you research endlessly but never take action. I created a 30-day passion playbook that you can find and play with in my school community. You can find a link in description and in pinned comment. This 30-day playbook removes this pressure completely. You commit to exploring an interest for just 30 days with no long-term expectations. This isn't about finding your forever passion. It's about gathering information through direct experience. You're not making a permanent decision. You're just someone running a short-term test. And this approach creates what psychologists call low-stakes engagement, where the pressure to succeed is removed. You focus on learning and contribution rather than passion. Your goal isn't to feel passionate by day 30, but to answer specific questions. Is this activity interesting enough to continue? Does it hold your attention when it gets challenging? Can you see yourself developing skills in this area? Most importantly, How could this interest potentially help others? This shift from passion seeking to learning focused engagement changes everything. I met a shy introvert who used this same technique to explore public speaking. She was committed to 30 days of experiment with no expectation of becoming a confident speaker. She started with small, safe environment, first practicing with close friends, which is really important in this development process. Then joining a local speaking club, she focused on learning one new speaking technique each week and finding opportunities to help others through her developing skills. And by day 30, she hadn't transformed into a professional speaker. She had gathered enough positive evidence to continue developing. The 30-day experiment creates passion momentum without long-term pressure. They break the circle of overthinking and underacting that keeps people stuck. And each experiment gives you concrete data about what actually works for you, not just theoretical ideas of what might work. You learn through doing rather than analyzing. And this practical experience builds confidence regardless of the outcome. Even if an experiment doesn't lead to continued engagement, you still gain valuable information about your preferences and capabilities. So this approach makes developing passion accessible to everyone, regardless of their current situation or past experiences with failure. You're not betting your entire future on one choice. You're testing multiple possibilities through manageable short-term commitments. So the 30-day time frame is long enough to develop some basic competence, but short enough to prevent feeling trapped in a wrong choice. So this balance between commitment and flexibility creates the ideal condition for discovering and developing genuine interests. So with multiple interests developing through your experiment, how do you determine which one deserves further investment? As you explore different areas of interest, you will naturally notice that some activities show more promise than the others. And the fear of choosing wrong can become paralyzing at this stage. You might find yourself stuck between distant options, worried that committing to one means abandoning potential success in another. This hesitation is normal, but can prevent progress if you don't develop a clear selection process. So pay close attention to activities where time seems to pass without your notice. This flow state indicates natural engagement that often signal worthless pursuit. Also notice what you're naturally good at, even if it feels ordinary to you. Your innate abilities might seem unremarkable because they come easily, but they represent areas where you have potential for rapid skill development. Another crucial indicator is your energy levels after engaging with an activity. Worthwhile interests typically leave you feeling energized rather than drained, even when the work itself is challenging. So consider where you can provide genuine value to others. A multi-billion-dollar founder I studied didn't pursue his most personal, exciting idea first. He focused on solving real problems that people were actively trying to solve. He looked for opportunities where his personal interest overlaps with market needs and his natural abilities. And this intersection created the ideal conditions for building his passion. He validated its potential direction by testing whether real people will pay for solutions before committing significant resources to development. So worthwhile passions combine personal interest with market need and natural ability for this entrepreneur. And this three-part convergence created sustainable motivation because he connected what he enjoyed with what world values and what he executed effectively. And when these elements align, you're not just building passion for yourself, you're creating something that resonates with others and utilizes your inherent strengths. So this kind of alignment creates a feedback loop where validation reinforces internal motivation, making the development process more rewarding and sustainable. So the selection process becomes clearer when you stop looking for perfect passion and start looking for promising intersections. You're choosing where to focus your next phase of development. So the right choice isn't about finding your one true calling. but identifying which intersection of interest, ability, and value creation deserves your next 30 days of focused effort. This approach removes the pressure of permanent decisions and replaces it with strategic experimentation. So you're building momentum through successive iterations rather than searching for a single perfect answer. How small, consistent actions create massive passion development over time becomes clear when you understand how building passion works, like compounding interest. Small investment grow exponentially, yet most people underestimate how this tiny action accumulate into significant passion. They look for big breakthroughs and dramatic moments, missing the power of daily micro actions that researchers call passion momentum. When you spend just 30 minutes daily on an interest, that creates over 180 hours of engagement in a single year. And this consistent exposure builds neutral pathways that generate genuine interest and skill development. Your brain begins to recognize patterns and make connections that weren't possible during occasional engagement. And this neurological development transforms initial curiosity into deeper engagement naturally without forced effort or willpower. The college dropout I mentioned earlier built their business through daily small actions. He didn't wait for inspiration or perfect conditions. Each day, he allocated specific time to work on his business idea, even if progress felt minimal at first. Some days just involved researching market needs. Other days involved reaching out to potential customers. And some involved improving his product based on feedback. None of these actions felt dramatical individually, but together they created steady progress that eventually compounded into significant results. Importantly, this approach also prevents burnout because it doesn't require massive use of energy all at once. And sustainable passion development happens through manageable daily actions that fit into your existing schedule. And this is because you're not trying to force passion through intense efforts, but allowing it develop naturally through consistent engagement. This also makes the process more enjoyable and less likely to trigger resistance or avoidance. The compound effect turns initial curiosity into deep, lasting passion by creating a positive feedback loop. As your skills improve slightly each day, you get small wins that build confidence. And these confidence boosts make you more likely to continue engaging, which leads to further skill development. This upward spiral continues. What began as a minor interest becomes a significant part of your identity and capabilities. The transformation happens so gradually, you might not notice it occurring. Yet, looking back after several months reveals substantial change. So, consistent small actions create passion momentum that compounds over time, turning tentative exploration into genuine expertise and fulfillment. This process works because it aligns with how human psychology and skill development actually function, rather than how we imagine passion to feel initially. So by focusing on daily progress rather than immediate transformation, you build something real and sustainable instead of chasing temporary excitement that quickly fades. And what happens when the initial excitement fades and real work begins? Every passion development journey reaches what's called the deep, that point where progress slows and enthusiasm fades. The early excitement that carried you through the first weeks or months starts to fade, and the reality of sustained effort sets in. This is precisely where most people quit, mistaking temporary difficulty for a sign they've chosen the wrong path. They interpret the natural challenge of skill development as evidence that this isn't their true calling. Research indicates that this is a critical point where potential passions get abandoned. The dip isn't an indication you've made a wrong choice. It's a natural and inevitable phase of skill development and building passion. People that have been successful in building their passion understand the deep signals progress, not failure. They understand that this challenging period means They are moving beyond superficial engagement into genuine skill acquisition. And where others see a reason to quit, they see evidence they are approaching meaningful growth. And these individuals use contribution and purpose to push through difficult periods. When personal motivation falters, they focus on how their work helps others or serves a larger purpose. The business owner I mentioned earlier also faced multiple dips in their journey. There were months where customer growth stalled, technical problems seemed insurmountable, and their initial environment had long faded. Instead of quitting, they doubled down on their commitment for solving real problems for their customers. So he focused on the value he was created rather than his fluctuating enthusiasm levels. So pushing through the deep is where passion transforms from casual interest to genuine commitment. And this is the threshold where many potential successes get abandoned right before breakthrough. Understanding that the deep is a predictable pattern rather than a personal failure changes how you approach these challenging phases. You stop questioning whether you've chosen correctly and start focusing on how to navigate this natural part of the development process. Recognizing this pattern also prevents quitting at the worst possible moment, right before potential success. So the deep separates those who develop lasting passion from those who remain perpetual researchers. When you understand that difficulty often precedes meaningful growth, you can persist through challenges that would otherwise slow your progress. So this awareness turns what feels like a personal failure to a navigable phase of development, moving you closer to genuine passion and mastery rather than sending you back to square one in an endless search for something easier. And you might want to know, how does built passion evolve into genuine purpose and meaning? Many people confuse passion with purpose, treating them as interchangeable concepts when they are actually distinct elements of fulfillment. Passion without purpose often leads to emptiness, even when you've achieved success. You might develop strong skills and even recognition in your field, but still feel something essential is missing. This hollow feeling comes from focusing too much on personal growth without connecting your work to something bigger than yourself. So purpose emerges naturally when passion aligns with contribution and personal values. Research shows that purpose-driven passion creates deeper and more sustainable fulfillment than passion alone. When your developed skills serve something beyond your immediate gratification, your work takes on greater significance. This transformation happens gradually as you progress through the passion building process, especially if you've been focusing on contribution from the beginning. The framework we've discussed ensures purpose developed along passion contribution rather than being treated as a separate goal. So by starting with contribution and value creation, you build the foundation for purpose from day one. And this approach prevents the common disappointment of achieving skill mastery, only to find it feels empty without the integration of developing purpose into passion building process. Makes the transition organic rather than forced. So consider how the public speaker we discussed earlier found purpose in helping others find their voice. Her initial passion for communication skills transformed when she began focusing on empowering people who struggle with the same fears she once faced. And this shift from self-focused improvement to other-focused contribution changed how she viewed her work. And what began as a personal skill development became a mission to help others overcome their limitations. So this transformation of passion into purpose creates a more sustainable motivation system. When your work serves others and aligns with your core value, you tap into deeper reservoirs of persistence and creativity. Challenges that might have slowed purely self-interest passion become manageable when driven by purpose. This higher level of motivation helps you push through difficult periods and continue growing when the initial enthusiasm fades. Purpose emerges when built passion aligns with contribution and values, creating a complete system for meaningful work. This alignment turns what could be just another skill to something that defines your contribution to the world. So the transition from passion to purpose isn't something you force. It's something that develops naturally through the right approach to building your interests. By focusing on value creation from the beginning, you ensure that purpose grows alongside competence, resulting in work that feels both personally satisfying and genuinely meaningful. This complete development process prevents the common pitfall of building skills that feel hollow because they lack deeper significance. So, ask yourself, how do you take everything we've discussed and actually apply it starting today? Knowledge without action changes nothing, which is why your first step matters more than perfect understanding. Most people consume educational content but never implement what they learn. They watch videos, read books, and collect information without ever testing it in their own lives. This creates a gap between knowing what to do to and actually doing it. So your first step is simple but powerful. Choose one micro interest from the list of strengths and curiosities you have identified or about to identify. This shouldn't be your dream passion or ultimate calling. Pick something small that shows even mild promise. The key is starting with something manageable rather than overwhelming yourself with grand expectations. Commit to 30 days of engagement with no long-term expectation. This isn't about finding your forever passion. You're simply running experiments to gather data about what actually works for you. The only commitment is engagement for 1 month. Focus your experiment on contribution, value creation, rather than personal fulfillment. Ask yourself how this interest could potentially help others. Even if you're just developing a basic skill, consider how it might create value for someone else. This shift from self-focus to other-focused engagement changes the entire dynamic of your exploration. Track your energy levels and engagement throughout the notice which activities feel draining versus energizing. Pay attention to when time passes quickly versus when you're watching the clock. This observation provides valuable data about what genuinely interests you versus what you think should interest you. As I mentioned earlier, I've created a 30-day passion playbook that guides you through this exact process. It includes daily prompts, tracking sheets, and specific exercises to help you maximize your experiment. The playbook removes the guesswork and provides structure for your exploration. And you could use this playbook for in terms of your career or personal growth or for any kind of passion development you're working towards. The 30-day passion challenge transforms theory into actionable steps. It prevents overthinking by giving you a clear framework for implementation. And this immediate action creates momentum that theory alone cannot generate. You learn more from 30 days of doing than from months of searching and planning. This approach works because it makes passion building accessible regardless of your current situation. You don't need to quit your job or make dramatic life changes. You simply need to allocate small amount of time consistently towards something that shows potential. And the cumulative effect of this small action creates significant progress over time. Your journey from feeling stuck to building genuine passion begins with this first experiment. The most important thing is starting rather than waiting for perfect conditions. Absolute certainty. The right environment transforms struggle into collaborative growth, making the journey more enjoyable and sustainable. When you surround yourself with people who understand what you're building and why it matters, you gain perspective that's impossible to develop alone. This collective wisdom and encouragement becomes particularly valuable during those inevitable periods when your personal motivation fades, but your commitment to the group keeps you moving forward. Passion isn't discovered through endless searching. It's built through consistent action, genuine value creation, and supportive community. Remember that waiting for clarity keeps you stuck, while systemic building creates momentum. So start your 30-day challenge today and find your passion. find your potential interest that could develop into your passion. So thank you for staying with me, and I hope to see you in my next video.